Hello everyone, this is Eric Cobra.
Ivenea.
Rana Naraja.
And Warlord 1.
And this is the League of Danish Assholes, episode 2. We know there's been a break between the first and the second episode, and there might well be more breaks. Who knows? This is kind of...
sporadic.
Yeah, that's the best word to use for it. But we're back, and we're here to sample more crazy quotes from the internet where people show their delightful insanity and stupidity for all of us to point and laugh at. Actually, they do it because they want to be taken seriously, but honestly, who can't do that? Besides people like them. In any case, we're gonna sample some of everything. We got some religious craziness, some racism, and some batshit insane conspiracy theories about cancer of all things. Plus, maybe more. Who knows? So we'll be going to our first quote, unless anyone got anything to add, of course.
No.
I have one.
No, let's just begin.
Runners has the word.
Delightful.
Yes. Okay, so who wants to read this one out loud? It's short but sweet. Oh.
May I?
Yes.
Okay. Pay attention. Biblical morals are more important than freedom, liberty, and the American way.
Actually, it's morals, not morals. Morals, but anyway.
Morals, then.
Yeah, well, obviously the American way is, well, may not apply that much to us being Danes and thus being across the pond, but freedom and liberty are kind of important to us over here.
And as always, I have checked the source, so here we go. Here's the first comment in this debate. Well, on the first hand, this country stands for freedom. Freedom of speech, freedom of arms. So why shouldn't we be able to marry the person we want? On the other hand, God clearly defines marriage as the binding of the one man's body and one woman's body in holy marriage. So should we just pass this by as a suggestion, or does God mean it literally? Against gay marriage, by the way.
Yeah, that whole biblical marriage thing, it is true that biblical marriage is, among other things, between a man and a woman, or a man or his slave, or a man or his wife's slave.
Or a man and his goat. Okay, not going into that story again.
I mean, how many wives did King Solomon have exactly, now that we think about it? He had an entire harem.
Yeah,
Wait,
Jacob,
I think I
if
can
you want to take someone else from the Bible, he had 4 wives and...
Please, if I may interrupt, I have an opinion on this matter being Christian. As a Christian, I have to say, as I probably mentioned the last time, I'm a pretty relaxed Christian. So I have to say, biblical morals, while they were relevant at a time, they are incredibly outdated. I mean, possibly parts of them are still parts of it is still
relevant, yeah.
still interesting and sort of relevant, but most of it is rather outdated, and it seems rather asinine to me to try to substitute everything we've come up with in the years since the Bible was written, trying to substitute that with nearly 2,000-year-old morals.
Yeah, that can lead to problems. For example, there is an Old Testament rule, you shall not boil the meat of a calf in its mother's milk. That is because that particular thing is a ritual used by other groups at the time. But because the context of the rule has been kind of forgotten, that's why it is not kosher for Jews to eat cheeseburgers. So I'm pretty sure most of those rules had some context they were in that has been kind of forgotten, and that would be crucial to understanding it. Furthermore, I'd say that even as an atheist, I will admit that of the whole Bible, Jesus Christ and what he said has probably the most historical staying power of anything in that book. It is surprisingly relevant even today.
Of course, you have to remember the Bible we know today is actually the censored version of the original one, so it is actually it has actually been changed a lot over the years, but that's kind of beside the point. The thing is, just like when they censored it, they thought that some of it perhaps wasn't relevant at the time, or that they couldn't use it. I think part of it, most of it, isn't relevant today. I mean, some of the morals, some of the things that Jesus said according to the Bible are relevant and uh, pretty good guidelines to how as to how to live your life, but you should it shouldn't be the the end all be all or whatever. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be everything.
Hmm. I
Again,
kind of have a comment here from the comment sections to it that's just baffles me a bit here. I understand that America stands for freedom. Well, it's not the only country in the world that does, my adding here, but we go on. They stand for everyone's freedom. They stand for homosexuals, and they stand for religion, and they stand for that thing, and that other thing, and blah 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 blah. But what's the one group that America consciously take freedom away from? I'm just gonna pause here. Can anybody think of a group that constantly are known to have their freedom back down on in America?
Immigrants.
Immigrants is a point. Yeah.
Which is bizarre because the majority of the present the present day population of the U.S. is actually descended from immigrants, but apparently they forgot that.
yeah.
Apparently. Moving on. Christians. As Christians, it's time that we take a stand in America. Do we believe in homosexuality is right? No, we don't. So what we do, we should stand up and demand our freedom of a sacred marriage. Homosexual marriage is wrong. It's not a sacred marriage. It's repulsive. Yeah.
Why
Well,
does their freedom mean others don't get to get married?
that's my thing too. For an example, I cannot really imagine having a church wedding, even though I myself is Christian. I just prefer something where we're doing a bit more. If you get my drift of that. But I understand that some churches were Christian and believe that our religion says you can't marry gay people would say, okay, you can get married. You can go to the, what is it called, a peach judge?
A what?
The guy from the government who can pass a marriage or you can get married on the street.
A civil union. It's usually
Yeah, a
called in
civil
English.
union. You can have not an actual marriage. Like exactly like when a heterosexual couple get married, but not in a church. But
Yeah, we call that the same as marriage back here, but in usually other places it's referred to as a civil union to differentiate it between the marriage in church and such and
yeah,
the government-related thing.
yeah, but they could have a common-related marriage, or they could have a marriage at sea or whatever. Uh, but they could say, okay, we will not conduct gay marriage in our church, and there are probably a lot of lines of Christianity who will disagree on it, but I kind of think that's up to
Actually, as far as
the people who make up the church, the people who come to the church who will decide, okay, are we okay with this, or are we not okay with this in this church, and then another church might be or might not be.
Well, oh, sorry.
if I may say something, actually, as far as I know, there isn't actually a part of the Bible that out and out for, out and out for outright forbids same-sex marriages. Although I'm pretty sure there are certain members of the faith that will that will vehemently claim that there is. And
Well,
they actually made a pretty good point out that in a Simpsons episode of all things, where the priest gets angry because the town suddenly decides to allow gay marriages, and the priest says the Bible forbids it. And then when Marge asks him which part of the Bible, he
There
can't actually come up with a part that does
is
it.
a place in the
So he
Bible
just
where it
freaks
says
out.
you should not lie with a man like you lie with a woman, but that's actually a guidebook for Jewish priests.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to think about it, what did Jesus say about gay marriage? I mean, I guess that's what a Christian should look for. What did Jesus say? I mean, isn't that kind of the point of Christianity, to emulate Jesus and do what he said?
Yeah, I think there is a point, and I cannot for the.
Furthermore, you could always argue a man can't lie with a man as he can lie with a woman.
Yeah, there's another point where it says that's why a man leaves his family and becomes one with his wife.
Yeah.
But then again, that's just a reference to a heterosexual marriage. It's not saying that he can't leave his family to become one flesh with his husband.
So that's at least 3 ways we identified where you can say, well, the Bible actually doesn't say it's against homosexual marriage. So that's kind of up to interpretation. Point is, well, here in Denmark, for example, the only problem I have with the Danish Protestant church being allowed to say no to homosexual, for example, is that the Protestant church is still part of the government, actually. It is the official church of Denmark. And that, I think, as an official representation of a government, it's kind of wrong. They're allowed to say no to things that our government agrees to. Yeah, for example, if the church said, no, we won't marry you because he's black and she's white. If there was complete separation, I would agree,
they can't do that in Denmark.
No, exactly.
They can object to stuff like that. They can't actually. I'm pretty sure they can't actually say no.
Well,
because the whole can't actually deny such things. They can object to it, but they can't. If the government decides that, for example, gay or lesbian marriages is okay, then they have to agree to it too.
And considering they did make a law that said that not so long ago, which some complained about, but again, as the church is part of the government, I think that's only fair that the government has a say in how the church is operating.
But there is this, you said, with strawman priests who will object to things. And the problem is that sometimes people don't move it on. They actually just go, okay, what do we do then? Well, we can't really do anything about it.
Anyway, the thing is, the Protestant Church is part of the Danish government, but it's subject to the Danish government. It's part of it, but it's the lesser structure out of the two.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should go on to the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of cut off on a tangent here.
Strawman priests or Christians keep you down if you want to have a marriage or in a church, or if you want to whatever it is, and they just object because they don't really have the right on their side. At least, actually, in multiple states, they don't.
Anyway, let's just end on a humorous note. The quote was, "Biblical morals are more important than freedom, liberty, and the American way." Down in the comments, I found a picture that said, Superman won't stand for this.
He sure won't. Hey, Rana, you haven't really said anything. Got anything to add to this?
Well, I have not had that much to add. The only thing I can really think of is that this might just be me, but sometimes the whole thing with the church and morals, I hope I got this right this time around, it sort of feels like, yay, now we have apparently made a rule or something like that we can stand out and say, yay, we are really so righteous and just, and we are actually very cool folk. But then sometimes I get the feeling that deep down inside, they still practice the same things as they have done for possibly hundreds or thousands of years.
Yeah.
The church has actually changed a lot over the centuries.
Yeah.
You know what the scary thing is?
No.
It might just be me who goes all paranoia, which I am very good at. But it sort of sounds like the church has this somewhat same problem as some politicians does.
Well,
what problem is that?
It is to stand up and say one thing, but mean something else entirely.
Well, politicians and religious people have gone hand in hand for a very long time.
Yeah.
So.
But
that goes against the
I'll just end with this. If anyone knows what the American way means, could you please tell me? Because it constantly comes up and I have no clue what it means.
Maybe it means to buy a big car and a burger. That seems like what a lot of them do.
Yeah.
And a lot of guns.
Well, that's only some of them. Anyway, let's jump on to the next quote, shall we?
Yeah, I think showing this, I'd say, I think different people have different ideas about what the American way is, and maybe that's part of the reason why so many Americans disagree on so many things.
Probably. Next. Okay, we got the next quote, and we got some conspiracy theory here. So, listen up and prepare for medical malpractice. Sharing his natural cures for cancer, Dr. Leonard Coldwell declared that every cancer is curable within 2 to 16 weeks. Stress is a major source of cancer, the malfunctioning of cells, and the disease is fostered when the body is overly acidic, which makes it prone to fungal conditions, he explained.
Fungal conditions.
Sorry, fungal conditions, he explained. Treatments like surgery, chemotherapy, and radiations are more likely to make a patient worse, he warned. Further, he noted that cancer is the main moneymaker in the medical field, with $400,000 to $1.8 million spent on an individual patient from diagnosis to death. Among his recommendations for general health and for cancer sufferers, cancer patients can take food-grade hydrogen peroxide drops mixed in distilled water or aloe vera juice.
That tastes horrible.
Hemp oil can be rubbed on skin cancer. Stay away from artificial sweeteners, refined sugar, and all high fructose corn syrup. Don't drink milk. Don't cook foods in the microwave. Eliminate exposure to electromagnetic frequencies, such as from cell phones, by wearing devices like the EP2 pendant. Put filters on shower heads to reduce toxins. Websites awesomesupplements.com and Help in America Now. Helping America Now. Okay, it's those contracted words. They sometimes confuse me. .com are good sources for supplements. A special site is set up to get more info. HealthFreedomNetwork.com.
Okay, so basically, according to this guy, cancer is a mix of stress and stomach problems.
And fungus.
Among other things.
I find this hilariously contradictory. He says, eliminate exposure to electromagnetic frequencies, such as from cell phones. You know, the ones that comes from your computer.
Yeah, and then he has websites that you have to log on to learn this shit.
Yep.
Yeah, that is kind of stupid.
I guess he's not up to date on his electronics either. Oh, and remember to put filter on your shower heads to reduce the toxins coming out of it. Seriously. I mean, I heard that there can be some problems with the drinking water in some places, but seriously, toxins out of a shower?
Well, some of them is mixed with chlorine to reduce bacteria.
That is true. But is that for home showers or just like public swimming pools? Because I know they have chlorine.
No, I have been in countries where it was in the bathing water too. So, yeah.
Ah. But do we do that
That's
at
why
home?
you had to go out and buy water because there was chlorine in the things in Europe.
But we don't have that in our water at home, I guess.
We are lucky to still have clean water here in Denmark, so hopefully we can keep it that way.
Well, they are working on it.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, see, I do not exactly know about that thing he mentioned with the aloe vera juice, because I have not seen aloe vera juice. The only thing I really know from personal experience would be that aloe vera actually harvested from cacti or something like that, and it is perfectly fine for most ailments involving the skin. So I cannot really imagine drinking the juice from produced cacti.
It's a very, very sticky feeling to drink it. Believe me, I tasted some when I was in Prague.
Okay, let me just say I more pity you than envy you.
And I don't get this. To prevent fungus and
Yeah, it's fungal. It
fungal.
means mushrooms.
Yeah.
Fungal conditions.
Yeah, to prevent fungal infections and stress, don't drink the milk. How does that make any sense?
Well, milk is addictive, and it is kind of not good for you if you're not a baby. So
I heard it actually is good for you.
yeah.
Oh, geez, it's always health tips. You know, one moment you should eat a lot of potatoes because it prevents cancer. Next moment, don't eat potatoes. They cause cancer. I've completely given up on following with any of that.
Yeah, and you get smoker lungs from eating red sausages.
You know what? I'm just going to stuff my face with whatever I freaking want. That's my policy on that.
Yeah, but anyway, I think of all the people you can listen to for health tips, I think this guy's probably the worst one.
Yeah, he's kind of dangerous if people listen to him.
Yeah.
Okay, it says here this guy's a doctor. I'd like to know, what kind of doctor is he? Because he doesn't sound like a very good doctor to me. Cancer is curable within 2 to 16 weeks. WTF?
Yeah, and his diagnosis of...
that from?
I don't know, and his diagnosis of why cancer happens...
I found him.
Oh.
Dr. Leonard Caldwell.
I can't hear you.
I think I found him.
Can I actually add something while we wait for what Givenair found?
You're part of the conversation, Rana.
Yeah. Well, all I can say about cancer is that I really do not stand on good terms with it. First of all, it cost me my grandmother, but my uncle just managed to survive it.
I lost a grandfather to cancer. It's pretty, well, maybe not pretty common, but it happens pretty often. I also had a teacher get it. She went into chemotherapy and lost all her hair. Went around with a towel on her head all the time instead. But she took it in strides. She was still like a happy old woman.
Oh, he has his own movies. That's why I was directed there. Huh. Maybe I should go somewhere else.
You know, that is actually sort of badass. Hey, I know I lost all my hair, but I beat cancer in your face, Death.
Yep.
He calls himself the lead expert on cancer and stress-related sickness.
Yeah, he calls himself. What do other people call him? Why don't you never judge people by what they call themselves?
What do you mean by that, Martin? What do you mean by that, Wall of One? Don't you agree that North Korea is very democratic?
People are often the worst judges of their own qualities.
That is true.
That is indeed true. Like when I think I am the second greatest and most awesome thing to ever grace the internet.
That's what you have me for, Rana.
Do not remind me.
I tell you that you're really not.
In any case, this guy also advised against cooking food in the microwave. Now, I know microwaves are not healthy for you anyway, but...
He's also considered one of the leading authorities in education for cancer patients in self-help. What the hell?
You know, why does he not just leave his office and actually go out to a case of cancer and see what he can really do about it?
I know cancer is really big topic, and this might be able to prolong in some cases, but I doubt it's all of them.
I have to say, I know there are some people who just pretend to be experts on certain diseases just to cheat other people out of their money by claiming that they can cure them. Maybe this guy's one of them, because this certainly looks like a hoax to me.
Yeah.
Which would make it even worse if he actually believes this. I mean, what does he have to build on this on? I mean, has he done experiments? Investigations? Tried his therapy on anyone?
Yeah.
I think because he brings that, if I may say something, he brings up the fact that treating cancer costs a lot of money. Maybe that's why he thinks that we're wasting money in trying to cure cancer. People who suffer from cancer. If that's the case, then he is a horrible person. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm just wondering. Maybe that's why.
He could also be one of the believers in big pharma. That's a concept many comes with, where the pharmaceutical industry is this megalomaniacal giant monolith of an industry that doesn't want to cure you. They want you to suffer for a long time so they can keep giving you medicine in exchange for money. And only by drinking herbal tea and meditating over crystals can you free yourself from the chains of big pharma. And honestly, some people believe that.
Like Dr. Phil.
One thing I'd like to point out, though, is that homeopathic cure is the opposite of what you just mentioned, and Cobra. It has basically never cured any diseases. I mean, the people who make that sort of shit often claim that it has, but really it hasn't. If somehow people got better, then it was then there's a bigger chance that it was by a stroke, by a miracle, than by their treatment.
Some of those homeopathy thingies have actually helped by creating a positive attitude in the patient, but that's about it. You might have much luck with a puppet show. Yeah, what's up,
I managed to find out what he's a doctor in.
Let's hear it.
Dr. Leonard Coldwell, a doctor of naturopathic medicine who has a PhD in psychology.
Psychology?
Yep.
So he makes homeopathic medicine. Apparently, that's what I think that first part means. And he is a doctor in psychology.
Yes.
And he tries to educate people on cancer.
He probably only throws that doctor in there to get credibility.
Yeah, something that's something that's a physical disease and not a mental disorder.
Indeed.
Seriously, fuck this guy.
May I be quite honest?
According to this, he actually treated a lot of cancer patients who had been determined incurable, and then they actually recovered. But I just want to know, did they continue their original treatment while he was treating them?
Is this on his homepage?
Nope. It is a site that advocates natural medicine. It was really the only place I could find.
Of course, it's a site that advocates natural medicine. Anyways, I
still want to know, did they continue their original treatment while they were on his health program thing?
I would like some independent sources to confirm that before I trust it. Because this looks fishy to me.
Yeah.
May I be quite honest here?
Yes?
Yes.
First of all, I have a question. I know you made a little fun of it before, Cobra, but the whole thing about medicine, Chinese and all that, I personally believe in Chinese medicine because some of it are actually pretty good. But another thing is, what?
The discovery of penicillin was based on natural medicine, but the thing is, you have to really be able to prove that this works. And saying that, well, I treated patients who were determined incurable and they recovered, doesn't really tell me that your cure works.
What also makes me suspicious is that he calls it a fungal. Did I pronounce it correctly this time?
Yeah, fungal.
Fungal condition. I never heard of cancer being a fungal condition.
No.
Or caused by the body being acidic. I mean, as far as I remember, cancer is when individual cells in the body go crazy and start growing out of control without working in tandem with the rest of the body.
The thing I'd like to point out is that the difference between ancient Chinese medicine is that it's still medicine that has been experimented with over a long periods of time to bring about certain results, which is what medical companies do. Homeopathic medicine, first of all, is new, it's untested, and it's basically just plant squeezings and snake oil, most of it. I'm sure there's more than that, but a lot of it is just that. And generally, they don't spend a lot of time on testing it like laboratories would with medicine that comes from medical companies.
Yeah. we can discuss forth and back, but this doesn't look legitimate to me, and it also seems, excuse me, but mocking the people who suffer from cancer and can't find a cure.
Yeah.
But
Can I add something again?
yeah, I just have one thing to say about that homeopathy thing. I don't even think that's the worst kind of these fake medicines. Have you heard about people talk about that water can remember medicinal properties?
What?
Well,
What?
it's if you pour medicine into water and dilute it, then you have much more medicine because water can remember the properties of the medicine poured into it. So therefore you can dilute medicine and still get the full effect. So you have much more medicine.
It sounds kind of like a
Quack,
joke I
quack,
ran
quack.
into once. You see, there were these three idiots who decided to conduct an experiment. Thus, they poured vodka into water and drank it, and they got buzzed. Then they put wet wine into water and drank it, and they got even more buzzed. And then they put sake into water and drank it, and they got even more buzzed. And thus they wrote, we can conclude that you will get drunk by drinking water no matter what you mix it up with.
Yeah,
Seriously?
that's mixed up with alcohol, idiots.
Okay, I need to add what I had to say right now because this is just a necessity. I trust this guy as I would a real-life version of Herbert effing West. Not by a long shot.
If I ever get any cancer, heaven forbid it, I know who I'm not talking to. So, we ready for the next quote?
Yeah, but
let's
Yes,
go on.
please.
Okay, and we got the next quote. So, let's hear it for racism. Estimates of the native population on the pre-Columbian North American continent vary wildly, but the best educated guess is about 6 million. So, imagine the current population of Washington state spread out all over the entirety of America and Canada. Is that really enough people to say, this continent is our property? That's like one family claiming to own Vermont. It's absurd. The Indians had roughly 6,000 years on their own, and all they had to show for it was a meager population because their infant mortality rate was sky high. 6,000 years, and their greatest technological development was the woven basket. Woven basket.
Woven basket, yeah.
By 1492, it was way past time someone used that continent for a civilization that could actually accomplish something.
Should we just go into what we actually found when we arrived in America? No?
Will you
Okay.
excuse me a moment? I need to go and get a shotgun.
But I wanna point out the introduction. Once Columbus Day was a time to celebrate the spread of the Western civilization to the New World. Now we live under a liberal ruling class that regards Western civilization as bad. Few honor this dying holiday. Oak commies of the San Freak Show Bay area are an exception. However, they renamed it Fuck Columbus Day.
What?
That's the original article.
Huh.
Anyways, if I may come with some info here, since I'm probably the main history buff of the group.
Sure.
First of all, the population of all of America at the time wasn't 6 million. It was more like, the best guess is probably 80 million.
Way higher than what this guy says.
Not 6 million, 80 million. Okay?
Yep.
That's a damn lot of people.
Second of all, yes, some of the areas were pretty sparsely populated, because yes, 80 million is still not a whole damn lot compared to present day North and South America, but so some of the areas were still pretty lowly populated. But there was some areas where the population were highly concentrated. The old Mayan Empire, which actually by 1492, when the first Europeans arrived, was in a state of decline, still had a population of approximately 6 million. The same goes for the Inca Empire, large, largest the largest single state in the Americas at the time, which covered most of what is today Peru and basically half of present-day Chile. Then there's the Aztec Empire with an estimated population of 15 million. And and the other thing claims this guy claims that I don't know if it's a guy or a girl who wrote this article, but the other thing that this person claims that is completely false is the fact that they're primitive. The Incas were incredibly advanced people. They had massive road systems that left from one end of the empire to the other. They had advanced farming systems that enabled them to feed their enormous population. They could field armies that were larger than the European armies of the time. The Aztec Empire had actually built their main city, Tenochtitlan, in the middle of a fucking lake, on top of the lake itself. They had made a city of stone that floated. And this city, by the way, was larger than any city in Europe at the time. It had a population of 1 million people. It would be over 100 years before a European city reached that number.
Yeah, and let's point out that the colonization of America might not have been that easy if not a humongous plague had erupted shortly before our arrival.
The only technological advantage that the Europeans really had over the Native Americans were the fact that they had gunpowder and they had steel.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna
other things they basically had that the Native Americans were unused to were animals like dogs and horses. They didn't have horses, and the dogs they had were a lot smaller, so they weren't used to seeing huge dogs like the mastiffs that, for example, Cortez brought to the Aztec Empire. And I'm still not done. I can go on with this.
Yeah, okay. I'm just gonna interrupt you here and say that I read the rest of the original article, and it is about that the police had to go in and stop a parade on Fuck Columbus Day because they were disturbing the common order of things, apparently.
Well, that is the police's job, after all. But even if this guy had a point, he doesn't. The population is wrong, and I sincerely doubt the infant mortality rate was higher than in Europe, and that claim of low technology is bullshit. But even if he did have a point, it's still wrong to say, I don't think what you're having right now is used in a proper way. Here, let me take it from you and use it in a way I think is proper.
Yeah, considering that we had yet to learn that bathing is a good idea, I don't think we have anything to say on the Native Americans at the time.
So if I may add something. So this is basically like saying that if you just happen to be some kind of European smug that just happens to wander around in a silly steel-plated hat and, well, chest piece and a musket and a bayonet to add that, and whatever the hell it is, a saber or something like that, then you can practically just walk up to ancient civilization and say, I am more advanced than you. If you do not surrender freely, I'm going to cut you down.
They often didn't even ask.
Pretty much, yes.
Well, that's basically what the conquistadors, some of the first people to arrive there did. And by the way, this guy, well, he doesn't really tell anything about them. He just claims that someone used the continent for civilization that could actually accomplish something. The conquistadors, the initial Spanish settlers, well, they did settle on the islands of the Caribbean. Once they got to the mainland, the only thing they did for a long while was just slaughter the population and steal gold.
Long live civilization!
That's the only thing they were really interested in.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not quite done yet. Yeah, I've got a lot of things to say on this subject. The thing is, the Europeans, they weren't themselves very civilized at the time. Remember, the medieval era wasn't even over yet. The Middle Ages only started at the year 1530 when the Renaissance started. So we were still locked in the medieval period at this time. I mean, the Europeans, they were also incredibly uncivilized. The church would ban anything that contradicted what was written in the Bible. People were extremely unhygienic. I mean, for example, yeah, like you said, even 100 years later, I've heard it written in a book once that Queen Elizabeth I was an incredibly fine lady because she bathed once a month, whether she needed to or not.
Yeah.
I think she ended up needing it.
Yes.
Yes. Considering what she put in her hair, I think you are right.
What did she put in her hair?
It was not uncommon, and I think it was during Elizabeth I's reign, you know, with the giant hair.
Yes, and that was over 100 years after this.
Yeah, it was not uncommon to use ox fat to keep those giant wigs up.
My God, the smell! It would just be this visible haze around people. I mean, you could see the smell. It would be cartoonish, I imagine.
Yeah.
Oh,
not considering that they were known to have mice that moved into their hair because they could not really keep the wigs and still keep the giant hairdos.
If I could add something to it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we talk about hygienic Europeans or lack thereof. But I had something to add about these conquistadors that were mentioned. I think I remember hearing some kind of program where it was actually told that all that gold and silver that at least Spaniards were so crazy about, it was something like the fact that, yeah, some of these cities of gold I heard so much about, it actually turned out to be stone or clay huts, and the gold and silver was actually used, well, the gold was used for worshipping a sun god and the silver for a moon god. But still, they handed over all the gold because the Spaniards basically had their nuts in their grasp.
I actually think that they ran into someone who had a ritual that talked about a golden man, and then the Europeans that just jumped to the conclusion, well, if he's a golden man, then he probably lived in a golden city. And
yes.
Said, yeah, sure, it's right over on the other side of those mountains. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. I think it was some sort of king who would powder himself in gold dust, and then jump into a lake or something. And I think that's where the name El Dorado came from. And somehow everyone got the idea, oh, Golden City, and nobody wanted to.
Basically, we can conclude that because they heard about the Golden Man and all that, basically every kind of Spanish warrior or soldier like that sort of got the gold fever going around. We want the gold.
Well, probably it was only a few idiots who got it wrong, but these idiots told it to everyone else. So yeah, European civilization, everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, you might as well send them out to look at after the city non-exists that lies within the mountain of bullshit. You might actually go for it.
It's a very pretty place if you can stand the smell.
So I need to say, it might just be my imagination, but I can just see this, to my mind, gigantic fleet of warships carry every single citizen of Spain all across the ocean, armed with pickaxes as soon as they heard gold, gold, gold.
That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah.
That also happened under the gold fevers, under the settling of the Northern American continent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, someone shouted gold, and everyone just sailed across the pond in their rowboats with drool pouring out of their mouth and waving a pickaxe.
Yeah, and then they
So-
murdered each other if someone actually found gold. It was not uncommon either. It's just sort of, yeah, the height of civilization.
And then they
Yes.
start slaughtering each other. But I just have a final thing to add. If I'm not mistaken, I read something about of this while I was randomly searching the internet, and there are some claims that say that gold is the only, well, precious metal that cannot truly be destroyed.
Well, do you count silver as a precious metal?
Yeah, to my mind it is.
Well, what do I mean by cannot be destroyed? Because you can break it
Something
down
like
to its atoms.
something you can mold it up, you can hammer it into different shapes, you can try and melt it, but it will find another way to reform itself, something like that. But it might just have been me who misinterpreted something.
Guys, I think you're digressing a bit here. I think we should get back to topic.
Yeah, we go off topic a
Anything
lot.
less,
Back on the topic
there's
train.
anything more to talk about.
Okay,
But is there anything to add to this, really? I think we've pretty much been through all there is to say about this.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I also want to say this. If you are going to be in a parade for a historical event and so on, whether you agree with it or not, don't destroy a Starbucks.
That sounds like a good advice, and one we can apply to our everyday life. Okay, maybe not, but it's still good advice. Don't destroy Starbucks when celebrating historical events.
I'm just asking
In
myself,
fact, don't
why?
destroy anything when celebrating historical events.
Yeah, but really, apparently some people have that little, shall we say, primitive instinct that the only way we can express ourselves is to destroy things.
And so civilization goes on.
Yeah.
So, should we take more for today, or should we end it here?
I prefer
I
if we could
guess.
take maybe one more.
Yeah, I think we could find more.
Yeah, okay,
Alright.
one more.
One more. Okay, I'll find one. Be right back.
Okay.
Okay, we got the next quote. Sat, and I think he's referring to somebody he's talking to here, but it's not important. That happened because this administration is trying to decimate our military, and the best way to do it is from within. They know that people will stop re-enlisting, or even enlisting to begin with, if they have to face sharing barracks and showers with homosexuals/lesbians. When I was in the army, it was still illegal. But if a lesbian had come onto one of the women in the shower, she would probably have ended up missing. That's how the military takes care of that kind of thing. Friendly fire in war zones. The entire thing demoralizes everyone involved, and that's Obama's reasoning. A demoralized military is totally incapable of protecting the country. There have already been numerous cases of troops being bullied by homosexuals. It's so disturbing that the commander-in-chief should be the one taken to task over this mess.
Excuse
Can
me.
I?
Why, how the fuck does this relate to shoes?
Shoes.
Shoes.
Choose?
Okay, I'm just gonna read the title of the original. These boots were made for walking all over marriage. Footwear giant tells 56,000 employees game weddings are civil rights issues. So how the fuck does this relate to shoes?
No idea.
Yeah.
Some of these people
I have
will
no
use any
idea.
Some of these people will use any excuse to soapbox it with the best of them.
Okay, I have something to say here. Why is it that we go from a discussion about shoes to a topic that, if I must be completely honest, treats homosexuals like they were freaking blood-sucking aliens in the military?
Okay. If I may take quote. Fashion footwear and retail giant Nordstrom, with actual retail sales reportedly exceeded $10 billion, has joined the ranks of business and corporations and is publicly announcing they're advocating for same-sex marriage.
Good for them, but that has little to do with this quote, actually.
No, but that's the answer. What it's answering to.
Yeah.
Actually.
As I said, some of these people will find any excuse. But let's focus on the quote here instead of the shoes.
May I start?
Still add something?
Okay, him first.
Okay. this might just be me being very, very angry at the moment, but why is it that some of these people keep treating this homosexuality thing as if it was some kind of disease that is going to tear the flesh from their bodies and gnaw on their skulls?
Because that's what they believe it is. It's a disease that spreads and it's going to ruin America! You know, just like how it turned Denmark into a barren wasteland, like out of Fallout. Oh wait, no, it didn't.
You know what? I need to point this out. It is, of course, to those that believe it. Of course, I can believe that it is so cute and adorable, but it is wrong!
This isn't cute or adorable, so I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Anyway, may I say something?
I think he meant what they said about homosexuality. I think he tried to make a joke there, but it got kind of confuzzled. But yeah, you're
Yeah,
up.
that is what happens when I get angry. But you had something, Warlord.
Yeah, okay, where's the stop? Because there's so much stupid to pick on here. First of all, when I was in the army, but if a lesbian had come on to one woman in the shower, she would have ended up missing, okay? I think one of the main problems why there are so many homophobes out there is that this strange fear that because they're homosexuals, these people want to come and rape them.
Yeah, I never got that. And I also think it's kind of an overreaction. Someone flirts with you and then you shoot them.
I think there's stupid reasoning in this. Oh no, if that guy's allowed to like men, then what if he has sex with me? Like, they just think that they have some sort of paranoid delusion that tells them that because they have this because they have a different sexual orientation, it means they want to bang everyone of their own sex.
That's pretty much what some of them claim.
Which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I mean, a heterosexual a man or woman doesn't go out and rape every person of the opposite sex. So why do some people assume that a gay person would just hit on or try to bone every member of their own sex?
Ah, but that's because you view it as an alternative to the normal, I say, with finger quotes, sexuality. But that's not how they view it. They view it as this dark, corrupt force that turns everyone into a sex maniac, a part of a dark organization that wants to take over the entire world. Basically, imagine the girls from World of Warcraft, but fabulous.
Ah.
That's what they see it as.
Yeah, there's one more thing I'd like to... There's one more thing I'd like to point out here. That's how the it says here, she would probably have ended up missing. That's how the military takes care of that kind of thing. Friendly fire in war zones. You do know that that's let me finish. You do know that's incredibly illegal, right? That's not even something you joke about.
What? Isn't it legal in the military to shoot people you don't like? Weird.
Yeah, and
I found a quote, a comment I think we should look at.
I'm not done yet. If I may finish, then you can come to your points after I've made mine. If this, at your chance that the person who made this is listening, I don't know if you meant this as a joke, but this isn't even something you joke about, and it kind of frightens me that a moron like you were in the army. Seriously. Who the hell was stupid enough to hand this person a gun?
That's actually, you're right, that's actually a very scary thought. And this person apparently thought that it was, he actually thinks that it was A-okay in the military at one point to shoot homosexuals if they were found out.
I just want to say that this idiot male is female.
Okay, well that doesn't change anything. She then.
Not really.
No.
That doesn't change a thing. That might also explain why she bring up a lesbian coming onto a woman in the shower. Didn't think of that. But yeah, she apparently believes that if a lesbian had flirted with her, the logical and legal response to that everyone is agreed on, is to shoot her in the back during military action. Because that's how the military takes care of that kind of thing. That's frightening.
She doesn't actually say that she was ever in the military herself,
Yes,
I think.
Actually, he says...
When I was in the army. It says that.
Ah, okay.
And actually, it was not illegal to be homosexual in the American army. It was illegal to admit you were homosexual, to say a word. So homosexuals has always been in the American army. They just hidden their word.
Yeah.
You know what? I have something to add here. Maybe this lady should start actually realizing that it is the United States Armed Forces, and not what sounds like the very, very depressing plot in a porn story. Because really, the whole thing about, oh, maybe you are standing alone in the showers and someone of your own, gender comes up and comes onto you, and your reason would be to just turn around and use a gun. That sounds both dark and very irrational.
And weird. Why would you have a gun in the shower?
I have no idea, sorry, but she sounds like the type who would strap a gun to her thigh in case of homosexuals in the showers. Or maybe an assault rifle.
Okay, I just have this idea of that such a homosexual boogeyman in pink boa just jumping out while you're in the shower, just going boo.
What are you doing?
It'd be like the weirdest remake of Psycho ever.
Yeah, anyway.
But still, I still feel like, not really doing something lethal, but I still feel like hitting this woman across the face, because really it is despicable.
Don't respond with violence. Merely voice your disapproval.
That's why we're here, after all.
Yeah.
I said,
Okay,
I feel like it. I'm not going to do it.
That's good. And she also brings up the whole, there has already been numerous cases of troops being bullied by homosexuals. Now, I haven't heard about any cases, but given how humanity has a habit of producing jerks, I would not doubt that there are homosexual bullies. Even so, that is not justification for friendly fire. And no, it's not called friendly fire because it's something we really want to happen.
Okay,
Yes?
Okay. I got it.
Got what?
I found out what DADT is.
What?
Okay, I think I have to read this comment. It was by Cat S. First, I must ask, what units were you in, Dory? That's the person who wrote the comment we discussed. Because I have doubts that you were ever in the military in the first place. I'm a straight female in the army, and I have never been hit on by any lesbian soldiers. Because soldiers, there's an unnecessary I. By any lesbian soldiers I knew, because they knew I was straight. Because those soldiers were very professional on the job, and they kept their love life private like everyone else. I think I need a period. If there were a rash of LGBT killings in the military, we, the public, would have been very aware of those cases, such as the PFC Barry Winchell murder case. You just wish homosexuals were shot to death for being homosexual, don't you? Come on, admit it. Come on, just admit it. You were never in the army. You wish homosexuals got shot to death, and that there really hasn't been any major problem since the ADT. So you came up with a vague statement about numerous troops being harassed by homosexuals. That's what Cadets had to say.
Yeah, that she makes a good point.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, anything else to add to this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have something to add.
We learned a valuable lesson today. Don't carry a gun in the shower.
Apart from the
never
fact that
carry a
it
gun in the shower.
Dear Princess
Yeah,
Celestia, today I learned not to bring a firearm into my shower.
because it will both malfunction and rust at the same time. But seriously, the thought is scary.
Yeah. You said you had something to add, Rana?
Yeah. The whole thing about me joking about them having weapons with them in the showers and something like that, I'm not going to say that every member that actually supports this thing of the United States are paranoid, but all I can really say is that, yeah, I sort of trail out there. I have nothing else.
Okay.
I have something.
Yes.
Just to finish this discussion, I'd like to say, I don't know if this woman is actually serious or if she's joking. If she's serious, then I am seriously terrified of her because she seems like a horrible person to me. If she's joking, then I just like to point out that her humor is very tasteless and not funny.
Let us hope it is humor, but I sincerely doubt it is.
Yeah. I just still don't get how this relates to a big business going official saying we are not against gay marriages, but
Hey, if the shoe fits, which in this case it doesn't.
Seriously, that is actually something I need to say something about giving here, because really this all springs from a discussion about freaking footwear, and then it jumps right into some kind of...
This springs from a discussion about a footwear company's politics and gay marriage, but what does it have to do with gays in the army?
It probably went off track, kind of like us at times.
Yeah, only thing I do not think we just end up sitting here talking about, never mind.
Okay, here's another one actually. There are two comments from the original I sort of see.
Two comments from Dory.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Another store on my star list. I'm tired of this country being pulled left and under the liberals. They'll probably push for a check off for NAMBLA do next.
When will these people understand that not every homosexual is a member of NAMBLA? Seriously.
And the second one right after. Christian people need to put these companies out of their business. Stop buying their goods and supporting them. We can shut them down by boycotting them. Well, that's like me thinking I can shut down Coca-Cola by boycotting. I just don't want to buy the product.
And I bet she's one of the very same people who called liberals and such ruiners of the economy when they boycotted Chick-fil-A, which actually ended up working.
Nordstrom, what is it then? I want to know.
But does that end it for today?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, unless you want me to fill in the next half hour with me grinding my teeth together.
No, you can do that on your own time. I don't think half an hour is going to be particularly entertaining for viewership.
Yeah.
So, this has been Eric Cobra.
Given air.
She just said given air, unless you also suddenly given air.
Sorry, messed up.
Let's do that again.
This has been Eric Cobra.
Given air.
Rana Naraja.
And Warlord 1.
And this has been League of Danish Assholes. See you all around, folks.
Bye.